Okay, number 4, investments of time and energy. Please pardon the dog fur on my microphone. You're welcome. As if we didn't have enough barriers to changing our views, we are far less willing to abandon anything that we've invested time and energy into. Be sure that you haven't become attached to something simply because you invested time and emotion into it. I have friends who were reluctant to take money out of projects long after it became clear that the project would flop. The reason that they didn't let go of their investment sooner was simply because they had invested so much time and emotion into it already. Had they let go of it sooner, they would have saved themselves a lot of money. Something that should really just break your heart is that there have been times when, even after it became really clear that an investment was a scam, there were still people who were reluctant to take their money out of it. It took them longer to recognize than other people because they had become attached to their investment in some way. There's a saying in the stock community, don't hate it, don't date it, just trade it. That's not a terrible way to approach ideologies. Don't marry them. Don't fall in love. Don't abandon the criteria necessary for critical thinking. Don't invest emotion into data, even if the data disagree with your morals. Don't be upset by mere data. Think critically about data. Is it accurate? If you write a thesis paper, it's just a thesis. After you discover flaws in your theory, adjust your opinion and move on. This becomes much easier if you understand barrier to exit, which we'll discuss later. But why people are so reluctant to do this sometimes is that they've also put so much of their ego into ideas. You shouldn't do that, but even if you do, what's interesting is that if it's your ego you're worried about, what's ironic is that people tend to appreciate the relaxed, go with the flow types more than the stubborn, arrogant, never admit they're wrong types. You'll find people are more celebrated and trusted when they have flexible ideas. You'll even find that about yourself. You'll think, why do I like this person so much? Oftentimes that's the case. See, the familiar is comfortable, and you want to avoid that. For the younger audience out there, or some of my friends who live outside of this country, Blockbuster was a chain of stores that rented VHS tapes and DVDs. They rented movies. You would pay a certain amount of money, they would hand you your movie. You would take it to your house, watch it, and you would literally bring it back to the store the next day or a couple days later. Two men once walked into a board meeting. It sounds like the beginning of a bad joke. Two men once walked into a board meeting in a company called Blockbuster and explained that a critical evolution in technology called streaming would greatly change the way people consumed media at home. Now, it's been said that the board all but laughed these two gentlemen out of the room and refused to listen to their ideas for the future of Blockbuster. Those men were Mark Randolph and Reed Hastings, and the company that they would eventually go on to form is called Netflix. Oops. Blockbuster would later go on to file for bankruptcy in 2010, by the way. Similarly, when CEOs in BlackBerry heard about touchscreen smartphones, they refused to adopt the idea for their phones. Today, many teens have never even heard of this company. Number 5, the contrarian. Now, just as much a problem as our desire to identify with a group is our desire to not feel like a cliche. Many times we like to offer a viewpoint that's contrary to the mainstream view. Few people enjoy this more than me. After all, I did write a book called Question Things. However, many times our clever contrarian viewpoint, novel as it may be, does not make the mainstream view false. It simply muddies the water by complicating an otherwise easy solution, or simple problem, or simple situation. We must question things, yes, that's for sure. But we must avoid searching for information that makes us feel good, which is a good segue into our next strategy for keeping an open mind. Number 6, avoid confirmation bias. When we seek information, we must be aware of our feelings because our feelings can subconsciously steer our search in a direction that confirms what we want to believe. Before searching, write down what you currently believe and how you feel about the subject and keep it next to you so that you have a constant reminder of what to be cautious of. An example of this can be taken from my recent interest in the debate over whether dietary cholesterol actually affects blood cholesterol or how much effect it has on it. Before I began researching, I wrote down that I don't want eating cholesterol to be bad. Now, we won't go into that topic today. If cholesterol is an interest of yours, I invite you to seek information on it. But the point is that obviously we should be searching for information that causes us to think objectively. Something that R.C. Sproul, a theology professor who I really admire, used to do is Sproul would ask a student, Well, now what do you think about what I just said? And the student would say something like, I just don't feel that's right. To which Sproul would respond, I didn't ask how you felt. I asked what you thought. Now, the student may very well have meant think and just said feel because they got used to saying that, but the professor's point was understood. We need to program our minds to think in topics worth debating. Feelings are important, yes. That does not relieve us of our obligation to think. And number 7, minimize barrier to exit. I said we'd talk about this, and now here it is. Now, I'm a little bit extreme in my practice of critical thinking, but I recommend not forming a stubborn opinion or belief about anything. Contrary to what you may have heard, a strong opinion is not a sign of strength. It's a sign of a person you don't want to go on a long car ride with or spend any large portion of time with, for that matter. Forming a strong opinion and learning are mutually exclusive. Being a learner means being one who's constantly seeking information. A learner finds joy in the pursuit of information. Therefore, an opinion is irrelevant to one with a learner mindset. Still, you will probably find that you are unable to resist the urge to form a belief or opinion. And so, you should then, therefore, try and minimize what's called your barrier to exit. When you talk about a personal belief, talk about it like a learner talks about things. We'll use this made-up word to help us in our example. The word will be Pueber. Instead of saying, listen, I'm right, you're wrong. Pueber is the best theory about everything. Try saying, Pueber might be able to provide an explanation for that. What are your thoughts? Or, instead of saying things like, the only explanation is Pueber, try saying, isn't it possible that Pueber... This could tie into what's called a false dichotomy, saying, well, the answer is either Pueber or it isn't. False dichotomy. There could be 3 options, right? So you might say, well, the options I see are Pueber or not Pueber. What are some other options? But don't make statements like, there's a new company starting that's going to be the best tire company we've ever seen. Instead, you might say something like, there's a new tire company that seems quite promising. Let me tell you about it. That way, when this company fails to produce a single tire after 4 years of empty promises and goes out of business, you don't look like an ass and feel the need to make excuses for why you made foolish, premature assertions about something you could not possibly be certain of. As Voltaire once wrote, certainty is an absurdity. And don't say things like, coffee is bad for your health. It's a proven fact. Instead, try saying something like, I read that coffee might constrict blood flow. What are some arguments in favor of coffee? This is a particularly good one because it seems that every year I've been alive, there's a new study that suggests coffee is good for our health. Then another study emerges shortly after which suggests that coffee is bad for our health. Then another study suggests it's good again, and on the cycle goes. Keep an open mind, and remember that different people have different goals.